Hi, I'm Skip Nipper. Welcome to my podcast where I tell you about Nashville's great baseball history and traditions.
Shot to right, a one-hop liner.
Certainly about its past, especially about Tom Wilson Park, Herschel Greer Stadium, Sulphur Dell, but also a little bit about its present and future too.
Yes, he can. It makes the waist-high catch.
And I introduce you to players, coaches, and other fans and their love for everything baseball.
The high fly ball down the right field corner, going way back, hits a lead-off home run.
I have talked off and on about all the great baseball teams that played in Nashville. The Nashville Vols played all their games at Sulphur Dell from 1901 to 1961. In the Southern Association, there was no baseball here in 1962, and then 1963, a final season. In the South Atlantic League in Nashville had no baseball for 15 years until the Nashville Sounds resurrected professional baseball in Nashville in 1978. But I thought it would be interesting here as we close out, getting close to closing out this year. What I always find is an interesting statistic is batting championships. Now, Nashville ball players had their share, and I wish I could share with you Negro League ball players from the Nashville Elite Giants, the Nashville Cubs, the Nashville Black Balls, Nashville Stars. I wish I could share batting championship titles with you on those, but the records are pretty unclear, although Major League Baseball is trying to resurrect some of those statistics as they become available. But until then, I can only tell you about Nashville's Volunteers, the Nashville Vols at Sulphur Dell. Now, in the 61-year history of the Southern Association, only 3 players hit over 400, and there are some interesting stories with that. Each one was a Nashville ball player, and in all, 18 players who led the league performed the feat in a Nashville uniform. But I'll tell you, none takes the cake like Hugh Hill in 1902. The Southern Association's first year was 1901. In the inaugural season, Hill played in 51 games and batted .328. That was pretty respectable. The outfielder and right-handed pitcher, who hailed from Ringgold, Georgia, outside of Chattanooga, also was a pitcher, and he won 6 and lost 5 games from the mound. But in that second season of the Southern Association in 1902, a season in which Nashville was defending the first championship of the league, Hill led with an amazing .416 batting average, an all-time high, and he also scored 99 runs to top the league totals. And that's not all. To add to his laurels, he posted a 21-11 one-loss record, best in the league. In fact, on August the 28th, 1902, he fanned 3 New Orleans Pelicans on 9 pitches, and 2 days later became the first player in Southern Association history to have 2 hits and 1 inning. That took place on August the 30th. Now, his batting average record would not come without some guarded inspection, even though he was named batting champion in the Southern Association record books. In Marshall D. Wright's excellent volume on the league, named The Southern Association in Baseball, 1885 through 1961, 1885 because it also included the prelude years of the Southern Association, which began in 1885, and it went in and out of business for various reasons before becoming a solid league in 1901. Well, Marshall D. Wright did not recognize Hill's record as the best in 1902 in the Southern Association. He said Ray Nimick, a founding member of the Society for American Baseball Research, SABR, S-A-B-R. You can find more information at sabr.org. I've been a member for, I guess 20 years, and I just love it. If you ever want to ask me about it, certainly send me a note or call me. I'd love to tell you more because the research opportunities and the connection that you make through researchers and historians are great. And if you're a stats guy, that's the place you ought to be too. Anyway, Ray Nimick went through the league game by game and made a startling discovery. Hill didn't hit .416 that season, according to Wright. In fact, he was nowhere close. And as a result of Nimick's research, Hill lost 37 hits while gaining 21 at-bats to finish with a solid, but not spectacular, .296. And the real batting titleist was Shreveport's Frank Hulsman with a .360 average. Now, let me tell you how I feel about that. I lost a trivia contest one time. My friend Clarence Watkins, who was running the Southern Association Conference at Rickwood Field one time, had a trivia contest, and he wanted to know who won the 1902 Southern Association Batting Championship. And I said Hugh Hill, and he said, no, it was Frank Hulsman. Well, we're both kind of right, but I prefer the Southern Association record book, which was published by the president of the league in most years, not all years, but in most years, and also in the newspaper. And it includes Hugh Hill's .416 batting average, and I think that's correct, as there was no objection to the batting record of 1902 at that time. And it stands to reason that Nemec and Wright placed their own standard on qualifying at-bats, of which there's no source, only of box scores located. And as statistics were reported to the league office and accepted, in my mind, the record is official, and that's my opinion. So let's leave Hugh Hill in 1902 because surprisingly, it would be 29 years before a Vols player would win the batting title again. Moose Claybaugh did it in 1931 when the Vols finished dead last in league standings and repeated on top of the league averages in 1932. Now, he earned a call-up to the Brooklyn Dodgers for 11 games in 1926 after slugging an amazing 62 home runs for the Tyler Trojans in the East Texas League, and he led the Southern Association with 23 home runs in 1931 with that batting average, too. And although he followed with 32 round trippers in 1932, Stanley Keyes hit 35 as they finished 1 and 2 in that category. And then Phil Weintraub was the second Vols player to hit over 400. And in August of 1934, the 26-year-old Chicagoan earned a call-up to the New York Giants, and hitting .401 at that time, he had just enough plate appearances to qualify for the batting title. So Hugh Hill at .416, Phil Weintraub at .401. And then Doug Poco Tate followed with a .355 average the next season, also leading the league with 194 hits and 17 home runs, by the way. That was in 1935. And Bert Haas, Haas, became the first Nashville players to have the best batting average as a right-handed hitter. You see, all the others were left-handed swingers. His .365 average in 1935 gave the Vols 5 batting championships in that decade. Les Fleming won it in 1941 as the third Nashville hitter to bat over 400 with a .414 average. And he would earn a call from the Indians for 1942, where he appeared in all 156 games for Cleveland, batting .292. So there you have those 3 400 hitters, all 3 in the Southern Association, all 3 played for Nashville. Hugh Hill's .416, Phil Weintraub's .401, and Les Fleming's .414. Now, Charlie English and Ed Sauer were the second and third right-handed batters to lead for Nashville. English hit .341, also leading with 201 hits, 50 doubles, and 139 RBI. And then Sauer's .361 in 1943. Sauer led with 30 stolen bases, too, and 51 doubles and 113 runs, and was named league most valuable player. And they were tops before lefty Smokey Burgess broke the string in 1948 at .384. When right-hander Bob Borkowski won the batting average title with a .376 average, it gave Nashville hitters 5 batting titles in a decade for a second time. That was in 1949. But in the 1950s, no less than 7 Nashville Vols came out on top of batting averages. Bay Barna with .358, Rance Pless with .364, and he also led the league with 196 hits, and Bill Taylor at .350, who is the only title winner not to see action in the major leagues, won the first 3 titles to begin the decade, 1951, 52, and 53. But the most magnificent season of any player came in 1954, perhaps the best season of anybody in the whole league in the existence of the Southern Association came in 1954 when Bob Lennon won the Southern Association's Triple Crown. He had a .345 batting average, of course, to lead the league, also 64 home runs, which was an unbelievable total, and 161 RBI. Now, he also added 210 hits and 139 runs, but he was resoundingly named Most Valuable Player. In 1955, Charlie Williams with a .368 average gave Nashville a string of 5 consecutive batting titles, and then skipped a year as Stan Palis and Jim Fridley were the last 2 Vols in 1957 and 1958. Now, a final note, when Sulphurdale was turned around after the 1926 season, beginning with the 1927 season, and it faced in the opposite direction, right field became a very pronounced hill with the fence only 262 feet down the line from home plate. But it does not appear the narrow field gave either left-handed or right-handed batters the advantage, because 8 of the 18 batting titles by Nashville Vols players were hit by right-handed batters, with 10 hit by left-handed batters. Well, I hope you've enjoyed listening to this story about the batting champions from the Nashville Vols. If you didn't get a chance to listen to last week's podcast with David Lindsley, he's got a great story. It's long, but I think you would enjoy it. Go back and listen to David Lindsley's great story about his baseball career growing up in Columbia. I think you would enjoy that. I also want to call your attention to, there's a 2-part episode of a conversation with Larry Schmittou, and I think you'd enjoy that. Over the holidays, maybe you'd have some time to listen to some of these longer ones. And then next week is Christmas, and I'll have a special story there. It'll be a little bit less of stats and a little bit more of a whimsical story, I think, that you might enjoy for Christmas. Anyway, as always, I'm grateful that you would join me